This is the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI Studios in Toronto, Canada.
Hey Toronto, this is Ed Sheeran.
This is Kelly Clarkson.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
This is Adele.
This is Madonna.
It's Michael Bublé, and you're listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep Show. It's fun. They're amazing.
So it's Try Something New Day, and Gurdeep, you tried something new on Saturday night?
I did.
What was it?
My good friend and yours, Devo Brown from Breakfast Television, texted me and was like, hey, he's like, you want to come to the Rogers Center on Saturday night? I got tickets to WWE Elimination Chamber. I was like, cool, what's that?
What?
Like, you know what an Elimination Chamber is?
No, but who cares?
How are you shocked I didn't know what it was?
WWF main event cage match.
It hasn't been WWF in like 1,000 years.
I know, but that's what I would think it is.
Sure, but I'm like, I don't know what it is, but sure, I'm down for trying something new. Let's go. And let me tell you, I was that annoying guy who was like, I was like, when people came out, because the entrance music is so epic. It's like 15 minutes. It's like a slow entrance. They're walking out. They're just brooding and staring at the crowd. I'm like, this entrance has been like 25 minutes long. Are they going to fight? Or are they just going to stand there in their greased up Speedos?
It's part of the whole show.
But like the whole time, I'm like tapping him. I'm like, who's this guy? Is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? And he's like, I regret bringing you. It's like, it's not good guy and bad guy. It's face and heel. I'm like, okay, cool. But I'm telling you, it is like Young and the Restless with folding chairs. It is crazy. The entrances are so long. There's so much brooding. There's pyrotechnics. I'm like, I want to walk into a Starbucks and have like pyrotechnics go off and just like stand there with cowboy boots and a Speedo and be like, flat white, please.
Now you like fireworks. Don't
Now
forget, you have to be shirtless and oiled up if you're also going to be doing this.
100. It is so dramatic. You would absolutely love it.
First of all, WWF, the reason why I reference it is like Coco Beware, Jake the Snake, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like,
yeah, no, this is when I watched it too.
I love wrestling.
You are as old as me. You're older because your reference points are as old as mine. This is what I'm talking about. I'm like, who's this guy? And Dee was like, that's Drew McIntyre. I'm like, what? That's the lamest name of all time. Is this guy 98 Degrees or is he a wrestler? I'm like, what happened to Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Rowdy Piper?
Right?
The names have gotten lame. I'm like, who's this? He's like, Seth Rollins. I'm like, what? Is this guy an accountant? Or is he about to body slam someone? DDT.
Oh my gosh. How much do you love yelling DDT?
It was so fun though. I had such a good time. I'm glad I went, even though I felt like I was completely, like there was an 8-year-old sitting a few seats over who like was looking at me like, dude, get it together. There was a guy who had a sign that said, my wife thinks I'm at the grocery store. I'm like, this is awesome.
This is what trying something new should be about. You try something new, you have a great time, you leave doing elbow drops, all the things.
Yeah, and I was texting Devo. I'm like, dude, what are we wearing? Are we greased up? Like, do we go cowboy boots? He's like, no, dude, just dress normal. Just be cool. I think he regrets taking me.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Oh, Pooja is back. We are so relieved. You've had a crazy few days. Our group chat has been blowing up with what you've told us. I don't know how much you want to share, but what happened?
Well, so I'm not sure if anybody else had a really bad week last week. It was so bad that I had to Google if Mercury was in retrograde.
Oh, no.
I don't even believe in that stuff, but I'm like, something weird is happening.
You're like, I need an explanation.
I need to blame something.
Right.
And apparently that's what you do when, I don't know, the planet goes backwards in its orbit. I don't even know.
I don't think that's what it is, but okay.
Whatever it is.
The planet puts it in reverse. The planet goes all Missy Elliott.
It flips it and reverses it. Everybody knows that. My son, Bodhi, who's 2.5, he was sent home on Wednesday with a high fever.
Oh, no.
And we just could not get his high fever to come down to the point where I actually ended up in the ER with him because it was just not looking good. And anybody who's been there knows that, there's all sorts of things that can happen with a very high fever. And if you can't break it, it can be a little dangerous. So
How high are we talking? Can you say?
Like
no?
over 40.
Oof,
Yeah,
that's really high.
Really high. So as a result, I was just watching him like a hawk, and I just had to be there because I was so afraid of something happening. Poor Sia, my daughter, was not getting any attention whatsoever. I thought to the point where she was like making stuff up. Like she woke up in the morning on Friday and she was like, my ears hurt. And I was like, you're going to school. You're fine.
Because this whole time Sia's going to school and Bodhi's at home.
Yes, with me. And she, she wants the attention.
Sure.
Friday, I get a call from the school that Sia's had an accident and I have to come pick her up because she sliced her finger open. Yeah, and she may need stitches.
On purpose? Wow, she's really...
No. So I took her to the doctor just in case, just to like maybe it wasn't stitches. So we get there. Turns out, Yeah, she needs stitches. We have to go to the ER. And then on top of it, I was like, can you just check her ears? An ear infection in both ears.
Oh, she was telling the
She
truth
was
the whole
telling the
time.
truth.
In both ears?
Both ears. So this poor girl leaves with antibiotics for her ears. And then we had to take her to the ER. And so, for me as a parent, a lot of firsts. The first time that I had to deal with, a sick child where I couldn't do anything to help them and watched all sorts of things that you never really want to see happen with your child. And then a first with Sia with stitches.
Oh, man.
And I mean, like, she's fine and she was so brave. And it's like we seem to be turning a corner now. But these last few days, oh my goodness, parenting is hard.
Yeah,
it is hard.
The group chat between the three of us has been wild. And for future reference, next time there's a gruesome cut from one of your kids, you just telling us it happened is enough. You don't need to send us.
Sorry.
You send me a picture of a deep gash on Sia's kid. I'm like eating my quinoa salad. I'm like,
so I shouldn't post it, is what you're saying?
Maybe not.
Okay. By the way, if you want to know, Mercury is in retrograde starting March 15th, and it goes until April 7th.
Oh, good. So something to look forward to.
Yeah. Don't make any plans. Don't do anything. Stay away from sharp things.
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI.
Okay, so it was National Retro Day. And Steph, you actually had something of a retro moment recently, and it left your kids calling you cringe.
I feel like
what
I'm
happened?
Constantly having retro moments with them and realizing how old I am. Mm-hmm. So I never really thought this was a big deal because my parents used to say it. I even heard like older generations saying it too. So we were talking about something, and I don't remember the specific conversation, but I leaned over and I went, knock on wood. Because I don't remember what we were talking about, but I was like, I didn't want it to happen. So I was like, knock on wood.
Sure, as we all do.
And they both looked at me and they're like, ew, what are you doing? And I was like, what? I go, what? I go, why? What'd I do? And then they started imitating me and they're like, knock on wood. I was like, what? And I was like, wait a minute, what is happening
so
right now?
So they have no idea that knock on wood is like, like asking for a bit of luck or
right, or like
it's
it doesn't
on your
happen.
side, hoping,
And they just looked at me. And I thought they were joking at first. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, and they just kept doing it. I was like, what is wrong with you guys?
Remind us the ages of your kids.
My daughter just turned 15 and my son's going to be 13 in the summer.
I had no idea that the younger generation didn't know that was not a thing. I might try this with my nephews and see if they know what I'm. Although I feel like when they don't know what they just kind of like brush it off. They don't say anything. They don't call me cringe. They just sort of probably internalize it and go, "What the heck's he talking about?"
And then I think it was later that night or the very next day, we were talking about something else, and I agreed with him, and I was like, "Oh, I go ditto," and instantly they both looked at me again. They're like, ew, what is that now? Like, who says that? And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what ditto means? I'm like, it means also like me too.
What?
I'm like,
Man.
what is happening?
Why does it get an ew though? Like, what's gross about it? Why doesn't it get a, hey mom, what does that mean?
I don't know, because everything I do is cringe because I'm old and retro.
The ditto one surprises me less. That one I'm like, okay, would kids know ditto? Maybe, maybe not. Knock on wood.
But it's not like it's like these are sayings from the 90s where it's like, gnarly or gag me with a spoon. I'm like, these are old, continued sort of
I don't think you're helping your case.
I don't.
The fact that they're dustier doesn't make them.
I know, but they're more common. It's not something that was in the moment.
They are more common. Like like they've survived through it's not like don't have a cow, which was big in the 90s and then disappeared. Knock on wood, you hear all the time.
I know. Well, apparently it was weird. And then they had to imitate me knocking on wood. Right, knock on wood.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, Tef, I hope you take some comfort in the fact that you are not alone.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that most parents have kids who either find them embarrassing or found them embarrassing at a certain stage.
Right.
Right? Okay. This is what we want to know. Help us out here. What sayings don't your kids understand? Popular sayings, you've probably said them your whole life, and your kids don't understand them. Knock on wood, ditto. I'm sure if you said don't have a cow, they would probably find that extremely cringy.
Yeah.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Okay, I want to know what saying don't your kids understand? This is because Steph recently said knock on wood and ditto to her kids who are 15 and
Almost 13.
almost 13, and their response was what?
Ew.
Why is that
Oh,
cringe,
my
Mom?
God, you're being cringe, Mom.
So we're looking for the sayings your kids don't understand, and the ones that leave them looking at you like you're cringe. Siobhan in Whitby, what is it?
I still say the phrase word when I'm agreeing with something.
I do that too, but I do it on purpose.
Oh my
So
gosh.
do I. That's
Okay.
what I do now.
I love it.
So you'll say word, and then what's the reaction from your kids?
Oh, the look that I get.
It's like
She cringes and just kind of looks at me like, oh my God.
how old is your daughter, your son?
My daughter's 25 now, but it started years ago.
I love that. So I hope you never stop saying word.
Oh, I don't. I won't.
Siobhan, thanks so much for the call.
No problem.
Text coming in here, 981-981 from Nancy in Markham. Nancy goes, I said, let's skedaddle. And my daughter told me to never say that again in public.
That's like my boyfriend. He'd be like, let's boogie. I'm like, I even say, I'm like, don't say that.
Like, boogie sounds like it's from the 70s. Skedaddle's from the 1920s. Let's skedaddle, say
Yeah, you got to do it in your voice.
I'm an old-timey PI. Let's skedaddle. Let's go to Peter in Caledon.
And so when I tell my kids they still smell like milk, they look at me like I'm a weirdo.
My boyfriend says something similar. He says, you still have milk on your lips, and the kids don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it. They're like, Dad, what does milk have to do with anything?
So,
I said, well, you guys will learn in time.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I never had that one said to me, but I'm guessing this one means like, hey, you're still pretty young. Like, stay in your lane.
Yeah, you're still young. You have no idea what life is all about. That's exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, what are you talking about, Dad?
They're like getting a napkin. You're like, no.
Peter, thanks so much for sharing, buddy. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Sounds like Peter's at the racetrack out in Caledon. Text coming in here from Amanda at 981-981. Amanda says, I said, take a chill pill to my daughter the other day, and she told me, please never say that again in front of my friends.
Wow.
Take a chill
She
pill.
does need to take a chill pill.
Yeah,
I agree
probably.
with you, yeah.
Take a second chill pill. Karen from Mississauga texting in saying, I told my son, don't touch that. You'll knock over the whole kit and caboodle. He looked at me like I was speaking alien. Kit and caboodle feels...
I like kit and caboodle.
I don't say that one.
I haven't said that one in a long time.
I don't know that I've
love it.
ever said that one, but
I
I know what
did.
it means.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike in Toronto texting in saying, I said, be kind, rewind, and my kid asked if I was having a stroke.
Yeah, you're aging yourself there.
Yeah, because that one's obviously
That's
from the days of
Blockbuster days.
VHS tapes, Jumbo Video, Blockbuster. But to a kid now, what does it even mean? They don't even know what rewind
They don't.
I guess like if you're streaming, it's like, oh, rewind it or
Yeah,
whatever.
but not really. They're not. They're just pausing it.
Yeah.
I don't even think my kids have ever
Be
rewound.
kind, rewind.
I love that so much.
That's hilarious. Keep your text coming.
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
This is the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Hey, so what's saying don't your kids understand? Asking you this because Steph recently dropped ditto and knock on wood in front of her 15 and 13-year-old, and the response was what?
Ew. And they just looked at me like I was so bizarre because we were talking about something like, oh, knock on wood. I didn't want it to happen. And then they started mimicking me and they're like, knock on wood, knock on wood.
I can't believe they don't know what it means. Like, I thought that one had stood the test of time. Like, you hear knock on wood. I hear that at least once a week.
So then when I told them, I'm like, how do you not know what knock on wood is? Like about a week later, and they're like, we know what it means. You just did it cringe. I was like, what?
Wow, really?
I'm like, how do you do knock on wood cringe?
So that's more of a personal attack than against the saying.
I think they just pretended they knew what it meant because then they didn't want to look like they didn't know what I was talking about.
I got to try that one on my nephews this weekend and see if they know what it is. What saying don't your kids understand? Let's go to Robin in Sunderland.
Going back in the day, if you're waiting for something, you might say, I'll be there in 3 shakes of a lamb's tail.
And what do your kids say when you say that to them?
We get the eye roll and they leave the room.
Wow.
How old are your kids?
Between 2 sets of parents, we got 6 altogether, starting at 28 and down to about 19.
Oh, so you're getting ridiculed a lot.
Indeed, yes.
Robin, thanks so much for sharing that. Appreciate you.
You bet. Take care. Bye-bye.
Text coming in at 981-981 from Davina in Brampton, who says, I said, let's blow this popsicle stand when we were leaving, and my daughter asked if we were actually going to get popsicles.
I actually say that a lot too, but I don't get questioned. I think they just ignore me.
Let's blow this popsicle stand.
I love that.
Then you have to peel out in your car for that one to make sense. That's fantastic. Looking at my parents right here. Not my parents, but looking at you, parents. What are the sayings your kids just don't understand? Maybe they find you cringy when you say certain things, and they're like, what are you talking about? Let's go to Lou in Toronto.
My retro saying would be 6 1/2 dozen of another.
And how old are your kids, and what's the reaction when you say that?
Well, my kids are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they still look at me and go, oh, God, Dad, another one? I'm like, okay, look it up. Google it.
I love when I say sayings like that too, and they look at me like they're so confused, and then that actually makes me not want to explain it to them.
Exactly. I feel you.
We didn't have Google as kids when our parents said stuff.
Right.
We would just have to use our imagination. Kids can quickly Google that and figure out exactly what it means.
Exactly. And then when they do, sometimes they don't even bother. Sometimes they look at it and go, oh, okay. And then they move on.
They're like, Dad's just being cringe again.
Yeah.
Lou,
yeah, exactly.
Lou, thanks so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate you.
Enjoy your day. Have a great weekend, guys. Love you.
If you missed that one, he said 6 of one half doesn't have another, which basically means like same.
Same.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I actually hadn't heard that one, but now I know what it means. I mean,
my
it was
God,
a bit
so
self-explanatory, though.
cringe. How'd you not hear
I
that?
know,
So
right?
cringe.
But it makes sense. Like, I think about it logically.
Yeah.
6 of one half doesn't have another. Same. Text coming in here from Monica in Georgetown. This is really cute. Monica says, I'm a primary school teacher, and there have been a few times I've used the expression, we need to pull our socks up. I then find at least a few kiddos reaching down and pulling on their actual socks. Come on.
They took it literally.
That's the most adorable thing. Oh, my gosh. One more text here. Sarah in Pickering says, I told my 10-year-old it's raining cats and dogs, and she said, Mom, that's literally impossible.
Wow. It's so funny how they take everything so literally, because growing up, I knew that there was these sayings, so I would try and figure them out when I heard it, because I knew that they weren't being literal. But now it's just like they take it literal or they Google it to go find out what it is.
I don't know if this segment's making me want to have kids more or less. I can't tell.
Oh my God, ditto.
Jury's a ditto. Knock on wood. Wow, man. Okay, what sayings don't your kids understand? I love this text from Lisa in Georgetown. She says, every morning I say to my kids, hey, hoser.
Oh my God, I love that.
They look at me with total disgust. That's so
Wow.
funny. See, that's great because Lisa's leaning into it. She's doing it and she knows it's cringe.
Yeah.
I love that. Jeff from North York texting in saying, I told my son he was burning the candle at both ends, and he goes, that sounds dangerous and inefficient.
But he's not wrong.
Wow. Very logical kid.
Yeah.
A smart kid. One more text here. Tom in Scarborough texting in saying, I told my kid I was tickled pink about something, and he asked if I needed to see a doctor. Wow.
Again, taking things so literal.
Is that the
What do
generational
they do to
thing?
that generation?
Does Gen Alpha / Gen, is it Gen X? Gen Z?
They can't.
Gen Z?
I don't know.
Gen
They're
X?
one letter of the alphabet.
Whatever. Yeah. Do they just take things super literally?
I
Is that-
guess so. I don't know. Weird.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Did you stay up late enough to watch the Oscars? They went down in LA, and the Oscars, they have a bunch of different categories, that they hand out awards for. And we thought, why not create our own award?
Yeah, some of the award categories make it to the live broadcast. Some don't. This would be one of those ones that doesn't make it to the live broadcast.
What did you have in mind?
Just given who I work with, your
Excuse
baseline is wide eyes and overreacting. Who broke up?
My famous is what?
Yeah, you live
Yes.
in your baseline is overreaction. So I thought we would make up our own category, which is, and the award for best overreaction goes to.
So you're looking for like overreaction stories?
We are looking for your overreaction stories. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's you, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your coworker. We want your overreaction stories. We're going to crown the best overreaction.
Okay, so I'm the queen of overreaction. I'm very dramatic, as you know. But are we talking like Ross from Friends, like we were on a break overreaction? Or are we talking like Family Guy, Peter skins his knee and it's like, like that kind of thing?
You know what? All of the above. We're not going to discriminate.
All right.
However you determine overreaction to be in your life, we'll take all your stories and we'll crown the best one.
Quick story. I went on a blind date and I don't think that this blind date knew that I was going to be as funny as I was. And so he's like, has anybody ever told you that you're like a cartoon character? And I was like, do you mean animated? There was no second date. So
wow, I think that's a compliment. There should have been a second date.
I don't know about that. Anyway, you, on the other hand, I would say you're the opposite of overreacting. Like, I don't think I've ever actually seen you overreact.
That's because you've only known adult me.
Oh.
Yeah, this one goes back, and I don't know if it's fair to submit. Maybe you got to be 18 plus for to have an overreaction as an adult. Mine goes back to when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I was in India with my family, and we were like going around seeing the Taj Mahal and doing the whole touristy thing. Mm-hmm. And you remember the Bazooka bubble gum that like came in a little wrapper, and there was a comic in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love that as a kid. I'd get it all the time here in Toronto. For some reason, and I don't remember this, but it's known as the bazooka story amongst all my cousins, and they still make fun of me for it.
Oh, no.
I had a complete meltdown in Agra, India, I needed bazooka gum, and I needed it now.
No.
Bazooka gum, not an easy thing to find in India.
Not in India.
No, and nothing would appease me. They had to like cut that part of the trip short. They started going to all these different stores asking for this bazooka gum.
Oh,
Nobody
my God.
had. And I would not let it go. I think
Gurdeep.
I melted down until I eventually fell asleep, and everybody was so grateful. And my parents were probably like, "Why did we have a second kid? We were good with one."
That's not an overreaction.
It's so embarrassing to the point where on my 40th birthday last year, my mom gave me. She gave me like as part of the joke gift in the bag at the bottom of the bag. There was a whole bunch of bazooka gum.
Oh,
like,
I love
Here you
it.
go. We found it 35 years later. Like, stop your whining.
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI.
Were you watching the Oscars last night? And, they gave out so many awards. I think there's like 23 different categories. There's so many awards that actually we don't see that sort of happen behind the scenes. And then we thought, well, what if you can make up your own award and hand that out? Why don't we do that on this show?
Yeah, and this one's actually inspired by you because your baseline to everything is overreacting. Your eyes always get really wide, and you're always like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Pooja, just got coffee. It's not that crazy."
I'm admittedly dramatic. I'm animated. I'm all of those things. I'm not trying to be over the top. It's just my personality.
It's like the boy who cried wolf, but with reactions with your face. So it's like when something crazy actually does happen, I can't tell. Like, is the world on fire, or did you just like forget something at home?
Yeah, I love going, what? It's my favorite thing to do.
So we're looking for you to finish this for us. And the award for best overreaction goes to...
Yeah, maybe there's a story, a time where you overreacted and you overreacted, or somebody did that.
Send us your overreaction stories to 981-981. Rachel from Mississauga texting and says, I sneezed once and my mom immediately Googled early symptoms of pneumonia. One sneeze.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. Alicia from Oakville writing, I couldn't find my phone, had a full meltdown, tore apart my couch cushions. It was in my hand.
Yeah. In fairness, thinking you've lost your phone is one of the more stressful
Why
things.
is it always right in front of you and you don't know it?
Keep your overreaction stories coming. We're going to crown the best overreaction. You can text us at 981-981. You are hitting us with your overreaction stories.
Yeah, lots of texts at 981-981. Dan from Scarborough saying, my kid lost a game of Uno and dramatically flopped onto the floor screaming, this is the worst day of my life.
Listen, at least he didn't flip over the table. That's the classic like board game, card game reaction.
True. I can see you doing this. You're not somebody who overreacts often, but I can see in a game of like Monopoly or in a board game where you're competitive, I can see you being a little
I mean, I'm not going to flip a
reactionary.
table, but it'll probably ruin my mood for like an hour. Yeah. But I'm not going to flip a table, I think.
You might slam a door.
No. All right, well, maybe. Sanjay from Vaughan texting in. He says, I got a text that just said, call me, and immediately started planning for either a breakup, a job loss, or the end of the world. Turns out my friend just wanted to ask what I was doing for lunch. Okay, no, you know what, though? In fairness to you, Sanjay, that is not an overreaction. You can't just text someone, call me. Like, isn't that...
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, unless you put maybe afterwards.
Thanks, Carly. Right? Like,
then it's okay.
It's like saying we need to talk.
Yeah.
So I want to get to a few more of your overreaction stories.
Yeah, getting this one. Raj from North York saying, my dad once lost Wi-Fi for 5 minutes and said, this is worse than the blackout of 2003.
Wow. Settle down, Dad. Vanessa from Pickering texting in saying, I once called an Uber because I saw a spider on my car and decided I was no longer the owner.
Oh my good, an Uber?
Wow.
Wow.
She's disowning her car because she saw a spider. Oh, she says on her car. Do you think that means like it was outside the car, not even inside?
Oh, I don't know, Vanessa. You have some explaining to do. That is a pretty big overreaction, but I think we just found our winner.
Let's crown it. And the award for best overreaction goes to
Tina from Markham, who writes, my boyfriend got mad at me and moved to the other couch for, quote, breathing too loud during a movie. It was during an action scene.
Oh, gosh.
What? Just from breathing too loud?
Do you think they broke up?
We are not speaking until you control your breathing.
It would have been funny if she's like, my ex-boyfriend got mad at me and moved to the other couch, then broke up with me for breathing too.
I also have asthma.
Breathing too loud during an action. I don't know. How loud are you breathing?
I don't know, Tina. You get the award, but also maybe you want to consider
Nasal strips?
No, a breakup.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Wow, just for
No,
that?
I mean, like
What are
a
you, Seinfeld?
conversation. A
Sheets or
conversation.
peas, one at a time.
Thanks for listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Listen to Pooja and Gurdeep live weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Only on 98.1 CHFI.
Toronto's perfect music mix.